Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Rotoballer Radio's The King and Pocket Aces Show. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Aniano, and joining me, as he always does, on this Thanksgiving weekend, my colleague and co-host, Mr. Scott Engel. Scott, happy Thanksgiving, buddy.
Oh, happy Thanksgiving to you, my friend, and to all the Rotoballers out there. We're very thankful for you because we're here for you. This is why we do this, to help you win.
Yep, absolutely. And guys, we got we're past the Thanksgiving games, a great day of games on Thursday, but now we look ahead to the Sunday lineup. And folks, to help you look ahead, head over to rotoballer.com and check out everything there. The main page, the premium package, the chats, you name it. Rotoballer.com has it for you. And make sure you sign up for any of the premium passes. Use the promo code KING, letting him know Scott sent you, or the promo code ACES for myself there. Let him say, hey, Anthony sent me here. Don't forget to like and subscribe right here to the Rotoballer YouTube channel, and keep listening to all the great Rotoballer Radio content here on YouTube or wherever you listen to the Rotoballer Radio podcasts. Scott, so let's dive into it. Two teams on a bye on Sunday. No Arizona Cardinals, no Kansas City Chiefs. They get week 12 off. A little bit smaller of a slate, obviously 3 games on Thursday. But there's always deep dives to be made. So let's start at the quarterback position. Your value sleeper play for week 12 at the quarterback position.
I'm going to go with Taylor Heineke against the Seattle Seahawks. He's coming off his second 3-touchdown game last week. The Seahawks defense has played better in recent weeks in the second half. It's the offense that's the issue for them. But they don't get enough of a pass rush. And if you give Taylor Heineke time to throw, he's a fearless gunslinger. He wants to be Brett Favre or something. And he'll take his shots. He'll also take off and run. And the Seahawks also lost their rookie corner who was playing really well in Trey Brown. And I think on the right side of the offense, Washington's going to take advantage of that. So if you're missing Patrick Mahomes this week, I think Taylor Heineke can be a good fill-in.
There you go. Taylor Heineke has done an admirable job at quarterback this year for the Washington football team. My sleeper value play at quarterback, Tyrod Taylor of the Houston Texans, going against the New York Jets. The Jets have allowed 17 total touchdowns to opposing quarterbacks with only one. That's right, one interception. It's been abysmal all year on the defensive side for the Jets. Taylor ran for 2 touchdowns last week. Now Phillip Lindsay in Miami potentially allows Tyrod Taylor to run a little bit more, do some more goal line work there for the Houston Texans as well. If you missed out on Cam Newton, Tyrod Taylor can provide you a similar rushing total, goal line work, as well as throw the ball. Brandon Cooks should have a big game against this Jets secondary.
I know we're going super deep when we talk about Tyrod Taylor. So
we are. Well,
I'm not gonna compare him to Cam Newton, who's in my top 10 this week.
Well, I'll tell you right now, Tyrod Taylor in 2 QB leagues. I'm using him in owner's box as my second quarterback. Yeah. And if it's dire straits at the quarterback, you've carried 1 QB all year, like I often do. I think Tyrod Taylor is a safe 18 to 20 points this week against the Jets secondary. I really do. There you go. My number one sleeper value play at running back is Ty Johnson of the New York Jets, now with Michael Carter out for a couple of weeks. Ty Johnson already has 4 games this season with 10 or more fantasy points, most of that catching the ball out of the backfield. And he goes against the Houston defense that's averaging 117 rushing yards per game allowed, 11 total touchdowns, and over 25 fantasy points per game to the running back position. Tevin Coleman, in my opinion, just doesn't have much left. He seems to be injured all the time. Ty Johnson should see the bulk of the work and definitely see the third down work for the Jets and Zach Wilson's return against this Texans defense.
Yeah, Scott, and Ty Johnson last December, the first week of December against the Raiders last year, 22 carries, 104 yards and a touchdown. He also has 5+ catches. Before last week, he had 5+ catches in 3 of his last 4 games and 2 touchdowns in back-to-back games during that span.
Yep, Jets have utilized him well and expect an uptick in work this week with the Carter injury. Scott, your second running back value play of the week.
Again, I'm going super deep. Rashad Penny came back in last week for the Seahawks and started. He came out after 2 plays holding his hamstring. He's hurt again. we could see DJ Dallas more in the mix. He scored his first touchdown last week. Alex Collins has not put up the numbers that we hoped, and the Seahawks want to start using their running backs more. DJ Dallas had a very strong preseason. He could complement Collins as both a runner and receiver, and the Washington football team has allowed an NFL high 8 touchdown reception to running backs this year.
Yeah, DJ Dallas was one of my running back must adds this week off the waiver wire for the exact same reasons you said. Collins had that 100-yard game and really hasn't done much since. DJ Dallas, a path to playing time is starting to emerge for him. My second running back, maybe not a sleep or a value play, but somebody people ask about all the time whether they should start or sit him. Well, if he's on your team, this is a good weekend to get Melvin Gordon in your lineup against the Chargers. 7 total touchdowns on the season for Gordon, and he goes against, the revenge game, I guess, even though they did it last year as well. The Chargers defense allowing almost 120 rushing yards a game. They've already allowed 13 rushing touchdowns, and Melvin Gordon's been seeing the bulk of the goal line work. Melvin Gordon in a situation where he remains the starter. Javonte Williams, we keep waiting for him, but Javonte Williams hasn't, quote-unquote, started a game yet. Melvin Gordon remains the guy. Gordon gets the goal line work, and the Chargers allowing almost 27 PPR fantasy points per game to opposing running backs. Gordon could be in line for a decent workload and a touchdown or two against the Chargers defense.
Yeah, that Chargers defense is always a good matchup for running backs.
Yeah, absolutely. Scott, who is your first wide receiver of the week?
I'm going to go Kendrick Bourne against the Tennessee Titans. He has 75-plus receiving yards and a touchdown catch in 2 of his past 3 home games. The Titans allow the most fantasy points per game to wide receivers. Mac Jones has been the best of the rookie quarterbacks because he does an excellent job of taking what the defense gives him, and the defense is going to be generous this week.
Yeah, it's funny. I looked at this New England matchup, and the one frustrating thing about this New England team is the points will be there for the wide receivers, but Mac Jones actually does a pretty good job of moving the ball around and including Hunter Henry in that mix. Tough to pinpoint one wide receiver to love, and that's a credit to Mac Jones' ability to not lock into just one player. I
think if it's one guy that he's going to go with, it'll be Bourne. If he's going to go for downfield near the end zone, it could even be Nelson Aguilar.
Yeah. Yep. One of my wide receiver sleeper plays is Robbie Anderson of the Carolina Panthers against the Miami Dolphins. 12 targets in his last 2 games. He has 65 targets on the season, 6.5 targets per game. It's just been the connection hasn't been great, but now we know Cam Newton is there in Carolina. And he goes against the defense, the Miami secondary, that's given up the second most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers, almost 44 points per game. They've given up 14 touchdowns. And Scott, this number shocked me. In 10 games this year, 23 different wide receivers have scored 10 or more fantasy points against this Miami secondary. They're having a hard time on defense stopping anybody. Okay, even last week, Kadarius Toney, people put up points, not Kadarius. The Jets' second wide receivers, Elijah Moore, I should say, put up fantasy points against them. We know you can put up points against this Miami secondary. Robbie Anderson on a deep dive if you're looking for a wide receiver 3. Scott, your second wide receiver.
I'm going to go with the guy we heard from earlier in the year, but that's really been quiet. I'm going to go with Marvin Jones against the Atlanta Falcons to get in the end zone. Atlanta has allowed 14 receiving touchdowns this year. Trevor Lawrence may throw 1 touchdown pass this week, but I believe it will be to Marvin Jones.
There you go. My second wide receiver is Brandon Ayuk of the 49ers against the Minnesota Vikings. Slow start for Ayuk. Everybody loves Deebo Samuel, but very quietly, Brandon Ayuk has 10 or more fantasy points, 3 of his last 4, 26 targets in his last 4 games with 2 touchdowns. And this Minnesota defense has allowed 18 touchdowns to wide receivers. 13 touchdowns, 18 wide receivers, 10 or more fantasy points, and 41 points per game to opposing wide receivers. I like Brandon Ayuk emerging. That's three playmakers now in that 49ers passing game when you include Kittle as well emerging for San Francisco. Scott, your tight end sleeper play of the week.
This is a guy that I usually don't recommend, but after the Giants face Jason Garrett, they'll probably take advantage of the fact that no team allows more fantasy points to the tight end in the Philadelphia Eagles, and I'm going to go with Evan Ingram of the New York Giants.
Yep. And I'm going Austin Hooper of the Cleveland Browns. 12 targets his last two, going against that Ravens defense that does give up points. 6 receptions and 69 yards on average per game to opposing tight ends. Cleveland's passing game is not what they thought it would be, and Hooper emerging more and more every week. Scott, we always have the Scott angle, the King's bonus plays, as I like to refer to them. Scott, who are your bonus sleeper value plays for week 12?
Like I said, Matt Ryan's going to bounce back this week against the Jaguars. Don't be hesitant to stream him if you don't have Patrick Mahomes. And I think he'll connect with Russell Gage, who's another good play. J.D. McKissick, revenge game against the Seahawks, who are very vulnerable to screen passes to running backs. And also, here's a super deep sleeper for you, Ryan Griffin of the New York Jets, a tight end against the Houston Texans.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually looked that name up as well. Like, nice matchup against that Texans defense. All right, everybody. This has been fun as always. Thanks to Scott, and thanks to all of you #RotoBaller Squad listeners here for checking us out each and every week. Don't forget, like and subscribe right here to the YouTube channel, and continue listening to all the great RotoBaller Radio content as we prepare you for week 12 of the fantasy football season. Stay smart, stay safe, folks. We'll see you next time. Have a good one, folks.